These are notes on levels of organization in ecology. So first I want to define two terms that a lot of you know from going to Nature Bridge, but some of your groups may not have talked about this, and I know some of you didn't go. So those are the terms biotic and abiotic. And we're going to be talking a lot about biotic and abiotic factors and how they influence ecosystems. So biotic is of or pertaining to something living. Okay, bio meaning life. Hang on a second. Bio meaning life, and tic kind of meaning of or pertaining to. And then abiotic, the A means not, so not pertaining to something living. So here I have 4 pictures of things. Some banana trees, a nice rain cloud with some sunshine behind it, a chair, and some leaves. So, and these leaves clearly have fallen off the tree. You can tell they're floating through the air. Some of them are brown, so we know some stuff about brown leaves, whether it's living or not. Some of them on their way to being brown. So what I want you to do is pause the video and determine which of these are biotic and which of these are abiotic. So go ahead and pause the video. Alright, so let's get some answers here. So the tree, hopefully you said was biotic. That is clearly something that's living. This looks like it's still growing, clearly biotic. The sunshine and the rain cloud, those are what we'd call abiotic factors. So sun is not living, never has been living. Rain clouds, not living. Rain itself, not living, never has been. So those are what we'd call abiotic factors. The other two maybe were a little more confusing. So the leaves are biotic. Once something is biotic, as long as it still maintains that cellular structure, it remains biotic. Okay, so just because the leaves have fallen off the tree, just because branches have fallen off the tree, just because a raccoon has died in the middle of the road, those are still biotic factors. The chair is a little more confusing. Now, I chose this chair because it looked like it was made of wood. If it were made of plastic, that would be different. If it were made of plastic, it is definitely abiotic. If it's made of wood, we actually say that the chair itself is abiotic, but there may be some biotic components in it. That wood still may maintain its cellular structure. And so we would say that, you know, there's some biotic parts in that. Something like a piece of paper which has been processed from wood, but there's none of that cellular structure remaining from that tree, that's abiotic. So there is a point when something does go from biotic to abiotic, but you can almost think of it when like it's so destroyed, it's really not that thing anymore. So as I said, we're going to be talking a lot about biotic and abiotic factors. So if you have questions about those, please make sure to ask them in class. So now I want to talk about levels of organization in living organisms. We've already talked about this a little in our characteristics of living things, but just to kind of go over it again, first we have atoms, and obviously atoms have levels of organization within themselves, but we're going to start with atoms. Atoms are organized into molecules, so many molecules, or many atoms make a molecule. Molecules are organized into cells, and here we have a plant cell and an animal cell. Cells are organized into tissues, and we're kind of used to talking about animal tissues, but you also have plant tissues. So this is a layer of like leaf, and you can see that layer right here. Tissues are organized into organs. Organs are organized into organ systems. So like for this elephant here, this became, you know, his brain tissue, and then here's the brain, but that's connected to other parts like the spinal column, that would be the nervous system. The system on a tree is that system of veins and leaves and branches all together, and then those are organized into organisms. So that's sort of the organism levels of organization, but then we can also have levels of organization in ecology itself. So we have the individual, and so that is one individual. And then we have a population. So a population is a group of the same organism. So our individual was some kind of elk, maybe. The population would be a group of elk. I'm sure there's some fancy term for a group of elk. A community then is a group of populations living together. Okay, so that's all living organisms, but a group of different ones. So we've got some moose, some sort of big cat-like thing, an owl. We have trees. Those would be part of the community. The ecosystem is then, now that we've talked about biotic and abiotic, it's all the biotic and abiotic components together. So it's the streams and the lakes and the air and the rain and the mountains, but then the eagles and the bears and the owls and everything else. So, yeah, we can say all the living and non-living components, or we can be fancy and say all the biotic and abiotic components together. The biomes are similar ecosystems around the globe. So this ecosystem here looks kind of like a forest, some kind of northern forest. And so we would talk about, you know, there's going to be an ecosystem, maybe this ecosystem right here in Alaska, but then the biome is any of similar ecosystems anywhere around the world is that biome, and they're all going to have characteristics in common. And then the biosphere is home sweet home, that's the Earth. And that's as far as we go in ecology. Obviously we can then talk about planet systems, but within ecology, this is as far as we go. And to help you remember, I remember this, instead of individual, I sometimes say organism, and then my kind of mnemonic device is only purple cats eat bananas, and then I just remember biosphere, but I feel like it's these in here that people sometimes mix up, so you can come up with some device to help you remember. Please add any questions to the end of this video, and feel free to ask them in class as well. Have a good night.